Hello and welcome to section C, exercise 22. We've made it to the last section. In this section, what we're going to do, we're going to be looking at how to explore the rest of the language. And to do that, we can look at links with literary devices and visual devices. Things like metaphor, simile, imagery, symbolism, even things like alliteration and rhythm and mood, all these things that are known as literary devices can be brought into the visual world in your artwork. So we're just going to delve into that slightly over the next, in section C, over the next 9 exercises, because to do all of it would just take too long. There's just so many literary devices, it's unbelievable. So what we're going to concentrate on in the first 3 exercises are metaphor and simile, that are the most recognisable literary devices. So I've chosen a simile by a French poet, Charles Baudelaire, and it basically says, a work of art should be like a well-planned crime. That was my starting point for this painting. I wanted to do a self-portrait, so I wanted to choose a simile that summed up where I'm going. I loved the idea of like a well-planned crime, making sure everything's covered, all the. That's pretty much what we're doing in this course. So, yeah, I'm using that one, and I've used photography and lighting to create. I've had a play with them. You can see them here, and I've used lighting and photography to create an image that I can transfer into a painting. I was thinking about doing this one with a mirror. I was thinking I could do with a portrait from a mirror, but it was the lighting, because I wanted it quite dark in the background and I wanted the head torch to actually keep looking at the mirror, and then trying to find things in the dark would have been difficult. You'll see what I mean when you see the photographs and the paintings. Right, let's get on with the planning sheet. Exercise 22, planning sheet, metaphor or simile. Well, I've chosen a work of art should be a well-planned crime. And that was by the poet Charles Baudelaire. So what am I trying to communicate? Well, for me, this fits in with what we're doing in the course. The well-planned crime, we're constructing this way of getting an idea across to someone, a communication. We're stealing a moment, we're capturing something, we're holding on to something and then passing it on to someone else. So that idea of planning, capturing a moment, and basically my audience is you, people who are doing this course, people who are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to capture something, they're trying to hold on to something, steal a moment in their lives and put it down in a piece of art. So in exploration with this, there's going to be light and tone, And it's all going to be done with, it's going to be quite narrow in colour. It's going to be very sort of darks and lights. So it's all about the light and the tone, and maybe a little bit of composition. I'm not going to, really explore materials. Obviously the concept's going to be there, the concept of what I'm trying to communicate, but to show it, I'm really going for the light and the tone and the mood. Mood being another literary device. We haven't really touched on it yet, but all these literary devices, that words that come to words that you find, they'll make a lot of sense when you're looking at your exploration of concept and what you're trying to communicate. So the mood I'm really going to go for, it's going to be quite dark and like I've just been captured doing something. I've been captured painting a picture. So the subject is self-portrait. And going right back to section A, bright headlamp creating a pool of light, illuminating a scared, startled face. And where is it? In a darkened room. And the pool of light reflecting off a canvas. And holding a paintbrush. So as you can see, there's, even going back to section A when we were looking at the nouns, verbs and adjectives, and when we were looking all the way through section B, practicing that communication with a viewer, now it's sort of bringing all that together and exploring devices. There are so many of them to actually get a message across. It's so much fun. So that's my planning sheet. I don't really need to do sketches because I've got the photograph to work from. But what I might do is just sort of on this sheet, just do a little thumbnail of where my face is going to be on the canvas and proportions, and so that the composition works well. Right, I'll get to it. I'll see you in a bit. is the painting for exercise 22. The metaphor and similes, where I've chosen the metaphor. Work about should be a well-planned crime, from the French poet Charles Baudelaire. And I wanted to capture myself like in the middle of doing a crime. So it was like I'd been caught. I was sort of just about to start doing the piece. We all know there's a lot of planning that goes into them, and it should be that the amount of planning means that you can get something done. But I was playing on the idea of doing a crime and wanting to do it in the middle of the night with a head torch on. So it was a bit of a play on that one as well. And I was exploring light and tone and capturing sort of like a surprised mood with that one. And with the composition, I kept it quite tight in, so it looks as though I've just been caught straight away. So that's exercise 22. In exercise 23, we're going to do metaphor and simile again. There are so many other literary devices that you can play with. I just want to stick to two metaphors and similes, so that you can see the pattern in what I'm doing. And then you can go and look at the other literary devices and say, well, yeah, I could use that. And it's not about using it correctly, it's about being inspired by it. So there's no list of literary devices that go straight over to visual devices that this is the list you work through. It doesn't work like that. It's pulling out what means something to you. So on to exercise 23, we'll be doing metaphor and simile with still life. I chose the metaphor by Virginia Woolf, so let's see if you can guess what that's going to be. Right, thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.